2K Sports welcomes you to the NBA with Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg. This is Kevin Harlan. We're glad you're aboard. We'll see the Charlotte Bobcats defending home turf in the Eastern Conference. Now, the starting group for the Milwaukee Bucks. They've got Gooden. Ellis is out there with Jennings. Then it's Ilyasova, and it's Delfino in at the small forward position. And for the Bobcats, Augustine and Henderson are the backcourt pair. Boris Diaw is out there with Maggette, and it's Biombo at the pivot spot manning the middle.
You know, the story with Milwaukee last year was a team that just struggled to score the ball, Kevin. I mean, nobody was able to consistently put it in the basket for them.
It'll be the Bobcats off the tip. Here's Augustine. Now Maggette. Jennings with the ball. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him two chances at the free throw line here. DJ Augustine picks one up. And Clark, on that note, only 6 Bucks in double-digit scoring averages last year. With Jennings, the fleet-footed Jennings, topping the list at 16.
No, it's just the fact that the top scorer was only at 16 a game.
Yeah, and Jennings was shooting about 40%, so that's part of the problem. He takes a lot of shots. He doesn't always make them. So usually you need your top scorers to be high percentage shooters. It allows you to get back defensively, and it allows you to really be able to count on somebody night after night.
Here's Henderson, the rebound by Monta Ellis.
Tell you what, the defense wasn't backing down there because usually he can use his strength to fight through contact.
Let's find out what Doris Burke has for us.
I had a chance to catch up with Paul Silas. It was their interior defense that he thought would be a key factor. He said, my guys have the length and the instincts to block more than their fair shots if the ball comes inside against us. It's got to be nice for your coach to have that kind of faith in you guys.
Thanks, Doris. So Clark and Steve, defense, it looks like, coming first for them today.
And while you don't really want to put all of your cookies in one jar, I mean, I think emphasis on defense is a way to go.
Yeah, I'd agree, because if you come out and establish the defense right away, it kind of sets the tone, and you really kind of take control of that game emotionally.
Well, I think Corey Maggette had a rough first year in Milwaukee as his numbers just weren't where they have been throughout his career. And it was just a bumpy transition for Maggette.
Second free throw, no good. Clark had brought up Maggette. He had some injuries too, and I think that probably was a force in all that stuff.
No doubt.
And Steve, it was a very forgettable year for him.
Well, he's starting to get up there in terms of age, Kevin, and you can see it in the free throw attempts. That's always been Magette's bread and butter. He normally averages about 8 or 9 free throw attempts per game. That number was down to about 5 a year ago.
Here is Augustine, following the bucket by the Bucks. Knocks it loose. Here's Henderson. And the shot counts. He's fouled. It's a chance for a three-point play.
How about the concentration to finish that play despite being fouled?
You know what, Steve? A lot of guys get hit and then stop. But he played through contact, and I like that.
And Charlotte's struggles last season, guys, were really reflected in their play at home. Because in previous seasons, Time Warner Cable Arena was a tough place to play. But the Bobcats' home record really fell last year.
Here is Augustine. And Jennings picks him up defensively. Corey Maggette on the wing. Teardrop shot. Good. Steve, that big drop you were talking about at home is one of the reasons why the Bobcats didn't make the playoffs. So, Clark, it's not hard to figure out why they didn't make the postseason.
Yeah, you look at it, I mean, that certainly was part of it, not being able to handle business at home. They went from 31 wins to 21. And they also had some injuries. Steven Jackson had a hamstring that was...
And he puts it down with authority. Spike slam Cam for another angle.
Well, he's got enough hang time there to put a little something extra on that one. 2 scoops of ice cream after that.
Well, that's going to be remembered from this game, that's for sure.
I think that was more like a banana split, Clark. And, you know, guys, last season, the expectations for Milwaukee were really high. But they just couldn't live up to those hopes. They won only 13 games away from home all year. And when you can't win on the road, you can't really be a successful NBA team.
Coach is liking Clark what he's seeing from his offense.
And shoot, why wouldn't he? I mean, guys, they're filling it up with ease, executing, getting quality shots. I mean, this is fun to watch.
Yeah, this is like a clinic out there, guys. This is exactly how you attack the defense. Move the ball, sharp cuts, but really a nice pace to their offense.
Just 3 to shoot. Fades back. Henderson, no good. Back to the Bucks. Clark, get better play well on the road if you want to make the play.
Yeah, that's a must. I mean, you got to be really solid and good at home and then respectable on the road. And the Bucks only won a third of its road games, and that's a definite way to be watching the playoffs.
Steve just said 13 wins. It's hard to believe, but that's what they got, and so they're going to have to improve on that. The Bobcats with the lead. Delfino with the steal. On offense, here are the Bucks. Trailing by 2. Here's Ilyasova. Here's Gooden. That's blocked. Ball's knocked loose. Here comes Augustine. Still looking to get on the scoreboard. Biombo. A rebound by the Bucks.
Tell you what, it seems like all it takes is just a little bit of defense for him to be tentative on those layup attempts.
Up with it. And that one's good by Gooden. It's a tie ball game.
Well, he really used the height advantage there down on the block.
Now here is Augustine. He's covered closely. Backs in. 5 to shoot. With 1 on the clock. Tries again, and it's good on the way up.
That's a nice job on the boards to allow them a second high-quality look.
Here's Ellis. Cannot hit. Now the Bobcats take it the other way. And taken away by Ellis.
He wasn't paying any attention to the defense. Poor pass there.
It's blocked. Out of bounds. And they retain possession. Bobcats making a switch here. Owens has checked in. And a switch here now also for Milwaukee. And Balamute has checked in for Carlos Delfino. Here's Diaw. Shot clock at 6. Charlotte needs to get a shot off. 3-pointer Augustine. It's rebounded by Ilyasova. Ilyasova's got 3 rebounds so far in the game. So he gets the whistle. Contact on the way up and 2 shots coming up.
Not a great year for the Bucks. As they were eliminated from playoff contention, Jennings let his unhappiness with that and with the roster turnover be known. He was pretty adamant and demonstrative about it.
Touching back on that story about Jennings, he has a bit of a point, but you still can't expect smooth sailing each year as a now third-year player. Steve, what do you think about that?
Well, you usually just have to work harder to get back to the playoffs, and I would think Jennings will do that. He was disappointing in his second season. His field goal percentage was way down. He's got a lot of improvement to make individually, and he doesn't need to worry about what's going on with the roster around him.
Hook loose.
And, you know, despite the number of turnovers, Kevin, they've still got the lead here.
Well, eventually, guys, you know those mistakes will come back and haunt you, so they've got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball.
You know, Monta Ellis, he's a great scorer, but he also brings to mind the illustrated man. He's got plenty of tattoos. He's pretty much all covered, especially on those arms.
Well, Clark says Monta Ellis was asked how many tattoos he's had. He said he lost count at 18, and I believe him, Steve. I know you've got 20, 25 yourself. I heard you go to the same tattoo guy or not?
Yeah, same guy. And, I got a dragon on my back this year. And it's probably my favorite tattoo. Here, I'll show it to you right here.
He kicks it to Amute. And here's Jennings outside. The Bobcats pull it in.
This has been a strong statement by them, the way they've come out and attacked the glass early.
Yeah, I agree, Clark. I love the physical play, the fact that they're taking the game right to their opponents.
Boy, I like that finish. Perfect for that possession.
Yeah, the simple one-hand jam.
That's the way to do it, guys.
And now the first timeout called here for the Bobcats.
Well, Charlotte came into last season on a high, having made the playoffs, and then a year ago they slipped back in a lot of ways. They made changes. A coaching change. Larry Brown moved on. They traded Gerald Wallace. So it was, in many ways, a rebuilding year for the franchise.
Now here's Walker, looking for his first bucket of the game. Corey Maggette on the wing. On the mark from 16 feet out. And that ties it up. Back to Charlotte, and Steve, you're just talking about that. You thought they were turning the corner the year prior, but they couldn't keep the momentum going. They changed coaches. You talked about the injury moments ago about Jackson. They had a lot of things that kind of got in their way.
Well, even that playoff team from a couple of years back, Kevin, you don't know how much higher the ceiling was for that group, so you almost have to think that rebuilding is the right step for them going forward, even if the fans might have to suffer through some tough years. Sometimes you got to tear it down to build it back up in a better fashion. One of the things I really like about Kemba Walker is his speed. I think it's going to serve him well in the NBA. He's a guy that's going to be really hard to stop despite his size.
Well, Clark, back to Walker. It isn't all just speed. He is so aggressive with the ball, and Steve, he keeps coming right at you time and time again.
Well, and what I like about Kemba Walker, Kevin, is that he's learned how to take better care of the basketball. Early in his career at UConn, he was a little wild. He turned the ball over way too often. But he really grew as a player and developed, and, of course, led the UConn Huskies to the national championship last season.
Goes right up, and that one's good by Henderson. Henderson's got 10.
He's so graceful around the rim. Sometimes you forget how strong he is.
Here is Ilias Hope. He's guarded by Dia. And Amute kicks to Gooden.
And you're asking a lot out of your teammate to try to handle that pass. I don't like that decision at all.
Bucks ball. And the Bucks with some changes. Carlos Delfino's checked in for Ilias Hope. It's Dunleavy in for Monta Ellis. Bucks trail by 4. A 3 ball. Dunleavy's shot is off. Jennings passes to Delfino. Fires from deep. And yes, sir, that one drops. Delfino's got his second bucket. Here's Walker. Just over 4 minutes left here in the opening quarter. Maggette. Dunleavy gets called for the reach. That's his first foul of the game, and the bonus will go to the free throw line.
Well, injuries were such a major factor for this team a year ago. And coming off a season when they had made the playoffs and had high hopes, it was a very disappointing campaign for the Bucks.
Catching up on the changes for Charlotte. Tyrus Thomas is checked in for Dion. And it's Williams in for Gerald Henderson. That one falls, so he hits both of them. Steve was talking about the injuries and some of the guys they missed. You know, Bogut, Maggette, and Salmon's all missing time.
Yeah, and then by Amute, too. I mean, he's been a solid player, but he had some downtime with injuries. I mean, that's a lot of scoring and defense from guys we named, and the Bucks really missed them. You've got to be healthy, and you've got to have your key players healthy to try to be the best you can be, and that just wasn't the case for Milwaukee.
Well, I think last year when the Bobcats traded Gerald Wallace, they lost a part of their soul and their identity. It's tough to win when you lose a guy like that, but they did get a couple of draft picks, and that will help them in this rebuilding process.
Udo's checked in for Drew Gooden, and that one goes in, 2 from the line that time. And Clark, back to that trade Steve was just talking about. We both like Gerald Wallace a great deal, but that's, I think, what was the key when you saw that he was let go, you knew the Bobcats were starting to look to the future.
Yeah, starting to do an about face, and those draft picks will help them not only get more talent, but also get a little younger as well. And it's not going to be easy, it never is, but I think they're headed in the right direction.
Williams dishes to Thomas. Over Mbamute. No good. And it's Milwaukee the other way.
+5 on the boards already here in the first quarter. They've gotten after it.
Yeah, that's a great sign in this game. If they're going to continue to rebound the ball like this, I think they're in great shape. What an offensive display he's putting on.
And at this point, Steve, you got to put more pressure on him. Bring help and make him move the ball.
Jennings is whistled for reaching in. So that will be his second foul of the game. We're in the bonus. We'll go to the line to shoot 2.
Kemba Walker out of UConn managed to graduate in 3 years, and after leading the team to the national championship, he saw his draft stock skyrocket.
And back to Walker, Steve, part of him leading the Huskies to the title were the intangibles that he possessed.
Yeah, he's just such a born leader, and you can see it. His approach on the floor. Of course, that UConn team was so young. But Walker just took charge, took control of that team, and led them to greatness. What a phenomenal season he had.
Udo inside.
Well, Milwaukee had such a tough season a year ago. They had a lot of high hopes, but injuries seemed to derail them, and they never could get going, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
He hits both from the stripe. Here's Walker. He's guarded by Udrich. And here's Walker. Clock at 6. Williams kicks to Thomas. Kicks to Walker. Good look. Good on the jump shot. Walker's got 6. Going back just a bit, Milwaukee much more comfortable, it seems, Clark, playing Eastern Conference opponents. Of course, they see him much more often.
Yeah, that's a familiarity as part of it, but also I think the fact that the Bucks prefer the slow-down game, and in the Eastern Conference, more teams play that way than don't. So the Bucks had a comfort level there and still had a tough time getting wins.
That's his second personal penalty situation. At the line for your Bobcats, shooting 2, Reggie Williams.
And the first one drops.
You see their early fouls here? They're having an impact so far.
Ilyasova, he's checked in for Carlos Delfino. And Williams drops them both. And Clark, you're right, the early fouls contributing to the deficit here in the first.
Yeah, I don't think they're moving their feet well enough, Kevin. I mean, when you foul, you're typically out of position and you're late. So they've got to anticipate better and then play defense without fouling. Stop using your hand.
I've seen that too. Mbamute, the pass to Ilyasova. Mbamute against Spaghetti. Puts it up. Fishes it down.
A true power dunk, Kev. I thought he might squeeze the air out of the ball on that one.
Well, when he gets it near the basket, you know where he's headed.
And he's going fast and with force.
Charlotte trailing, and the Bobcats call time here.
You got to keep everybody on the same page. They need to get their heads together. That's the goal.
Well, it was a tough season last year for Charlotte, not making the playoffs, really struggling after surging the previous couple of years. And their record against Eastern Conference opponents did not help.
.127 left in the first quarter. Mbamute against Williams. Biyombo kicks to Anderson. Pass to Walker. 6 on the shot clock. Takes it up. And he banks in the layup. Walker's got 8 points. With the Bobcats in the Eastern Conference, you know, part of that is just also the division that they played. Very, very difficult.
Yeah, hard as heck, Kevin. I mean, 30 losses against the East, but that's understandable when you have to see the Heat, Magic, and Atlanta Hawks 4 times a year. Those are all playoff teams.
And total domination on the glass by them so far.
Well, the anticipation has been outstanding, exquisite. I mean, it seems like they've got an extra sense as to know where the ball is coming off. Boy, I like the fluidity I'm seeing from them on offense. It's a thing of beauty. Fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. They're moving the ball well, finding the open man, making that extra pass. They're playing very unselfishly right now.
Here's the break. There's a 4-second difference from the shot clock to the game clock. Missed inside.
And you got to like the defense inside, really protecting the rim.
Challenging shots and making his presence felt around the rim, that's exactly what he can give you.
Guys, no one team gaining control early on.
Give and take, back and forth, the whole way thus far.
Yeah, 6 lead changes already, and as Rasheed Wallace once said, both teams playing hard, my man.
Walker's got 12.
You know, a recipe for disaster, Kevin, is letting him get that free near the basket.
Udrich for 3, and it's not going to go. And at the end of 1. Both teams putting up some points. Bobcats lead by 1.
And I thought the key in that first quarter was the offensive aggressiveness.